Hey everyone, thanks for stopping by today. Tony here, Tony's LPs Are Us. Today's little video is about one of my favorite jazz musicians. I guess everyone's favorite, I would hope, is Louis Armstrong, Pops Armstrong. As you know, Louis Armstrong was one of the most influential musicians of our century, and we're very lucky. We're very fortunate to lived in his time, to actually experience him as it happened. If I state that, he passed away at around 68 or 69. We're not sure of his age. He used to tell everyone, biographers and people in the media, that he was born on the 4th of July, 1900, at 12 o'clock. Later on, historians found out that he may have been born in August of 1901. So either way, Louis is 124 years old when we're recording this video now, and he passed away, I believe, in 1969. He had just finished a recording for the James Bond film on Her Majesty's Secret Service with George Lazenby. It was the first movie since Sean Connery bowed out, and Louis did a song that's one of my favorites. I actually, I think it's on everyone's top 10 as far as Bond people go, and that's We Have All the Time in the World. It was actually brought back as a homage in the last James Bond movie of a few years back with Daniel Craig. So here is just the 8-track of that. I didn't pull the record. I just pulled it because it was sitting in this right here in my studio, little portable 8-track player. It was in it, so I wanted to show that. But We Have All the Time in the World. Probably his last recording. Of course, prior to that, he had a huge hit with What a Wonderful World, which is top 10 on everyone's list as well. Here's a book I picked up, which I'm going to show you some of his what he did with reel-to-reels in his man cave and where he lived in Corona, Queens. A few years back, I was fortunate enough to go visit the museum where he lived, a modest little home in Corona. And there's now a huge addition to this house that was built in his honor, and it's a museum. And I urge everyone, if you're in the New York area, try to take a pilgrimage to this, because you will be flabbergasted of his cool stuff. Satch Louis Pops Armstrong was a cool dude, man. That's a book I picked up at his house, little souvenir. But what he had a little studio, I believe, on a second floor, where he had 2 or 3 built-in reel-to-reel state-of-the-arts. I believe they were Tambergs. You could find the stuff on YouTube. And what he would do is he would buy his records or his own records. He would tape them onto reel-to-reel, and then he would take them on the road with him on his tour bus and on the road, however he traveled at that point. And he would dress up the magnetic tape boxes. As you know, there were boxes, I'm not sure, maybe 8x8 or 10x10, but he would do his own covers. He would draw on his own covers. And here you have him, some Nat Cole. And that's another factor. Everyone loved him. All the giants, Nat Cole, Tony Bennett, Basie, Duke Ellington, they just adored him. Sinatra adored him. Dean Martin. When you watch some of the clips on YouTube of him doing duets with these cats, they were happy to be singing with Louis Armstrong. All his interviews, he's always cool. He was so humble. He was such a great gentleman. And he had to deal with a lot of things at that time in America, being a black artist traveling through our country. But he persevered, and he was an ambassador. Everyone loved him. He did more for music than probably any American artist that performed in this century. If you think about what Hendrix did for rock and roll music with the electric guitar, and how he changed the sounds and vibes, and the way he put together his sound, Louis did that 100 times over with jazz, with his trumpet, with his horn. He was poor when he was born. He was poor up until he's probably 15, 20 years old. And then he started going into music with his all-stars, doing New Orleans, Dixieland, and his bands were one of the first bands ever recorded. He was just a virtuoso. He could sing, and I love when he sings. I love when he sings. And some of the records I'm going to show you today, that's what this video is about. It's not about a history of Louis Armstrong, because I cannot touch a grain of sand in an ocean or a beach of what Louis Armstrong did for music. But I just want to do a little intro. And some of you don't know about Louis Armstrong, I'm sure. Some of you may know Louis, but you don't know what he did for music. He is a Bach. He is a Mozart. He's a true American genius, American treasure, ambassador. He did so much for this country and the world that we could never thank him enough. So there's the book, and inside this book is also handwritten lyrics of that Bond song I was telling you about, if I could find it, but that's irrelevant. But what he did was he wrote out the song as he was learning it on a plane ride to the studio with John Barry to record for that. Pops Armstrong. And like I said, just a treasure. So I'm going to go over some of my favorite Louis Armstrong records. Not only my favorite, but the best sounding Louis Armstrong records. There's a lot of Louis Armstrong records out there. I didn't look up how many albums he recorded, but off the top of my head, it has to be hundreds. And then there's the compilations, and then there's the remasters, and then there's the rip-offs, the cheap labels that diminish his sound. These are originals. For the most part, these are Verve, these are Roulette, these are Deutsche Grammophon recordings that sound as if Louis is in the room. Because back then, Louis would come in with his band. He usually kept the same band around for years. There's only a 4 or 5 piece band, 6-piece band. He also had Roy Brown on bass. Danny Barcelona, who's famous for drumming. He had Buddy Rich on drums at some point. And I'm going to go over some of those with this record, but the records that I'm talking about here are not only special treasures as far as the content, as far as the songbook of America, but of the sound quality. And that's why I'm picking these for you audiophiles out there and people that don't know Louis. Here's a great one on Cap Records, and this record just sounds spectacular. This was one of his comeback songs, because he got to do the song "Hello Dolly" from the musical, and it was a hit before the play even came out. That's this one here, "Hello Dolly." This has Billy Kyle on piano, his longtime pianist, Danny Barcelona on drums, Glenn Thompson on banjo and guitar, Big Chief Russell Moore on trombone, Arvell Shaw bass, just amazing. And here on the back it has his birthday, which it says here is July 4th, 1900. But this is a great recording. Nap Records just did it right, however they did it out of New York. There you can see there. They just did it right. So if you pick this up, this used to be $1 record. I haven't seen them lately, and there's also first pressing without the built-in hype sticker, but just a great sounding record. This, of course, is an original. Satch plays Fats Waller, who was born around the same time as Louis, and Fats Waller wrote Broadway plays, just a prolific American songwriter, pianist. Here's the original 6i, and this is his tribute to Fats. So it's Satch Plays Fats, Satchmo. Just a great sounding record. If you could pick that up, it's probably been reissued. I would go for an audiophile reissue. If Analog Productions or Tone Poets or something like that, I would stay away from the cheap, cheaper records, because that sound's not going to be there. This is off the charts. This is the compilation, 2 records that he did with Ella Fitzgerald. It's Ella and Lewis. And this is just an incredible album. This is on Verve. This came out after Lewis passed away. The original recordings were separate. The content of that is the American Songbook, like I told you. Can We Be Friends? Don't Be That Way. Let's Do It. Cheek to Cheek. They Can't Take That Away From Me. Moonlight in Vermont. And here you have, as musicians, are Ray Brown, Herb Ellis on guitar, Buddy Rich, and Louis Bellson on drums, and Oscar Peterson on piano. These were 50 recordings. These were just by the great, directed of Norman Gratz, who actually, I believe, founded Verve. Here's Verve, one of the albums on Verve. These are probably the same records that were out in the individual releases. This is, like I said, a 2-for-1 type of deal. And that's right there. But these sound great. These were done on 45. Analog Productions redid these. Those sound great. I had one of them. I kept on having problems with it. It was skipping unfortunately, in the same spot. I think at this Rockin' the Savoy. So I sent it back 3 times until I just mutually, we just said, I'm not going to try it again. So I only have these. I don't have the 45 RPM. Now we're getting into the good stuff, which is great sounding. The reissue of Duke and Louie. And this has Duke Ellington on piano, Trummy Young trombone, Bernie Bigard on clarinet, Mort Herbert on bass, and Danny Barcelona on drums. But these are unbelievable. There's 2 records from one session. They broke them up. So this is recording together for the first time, believe it or not, 1961. And this has a nice inner gatefold. And I love that photo. Lewis with the white socks. And this is how they felt about each other. This is Lewis speaking on Duke. Duke Ellington has always been my man of music. Ever since the days of the Cotton Club, in my estimation, there will never be another. There will never be another Duke. It was the thrill of my life to make this album. Long live the Duke of Ellington. That's Lewis. And then Duke says of Lewis, Louis Armstrong is a living symbol of jazz. My admiration for him as a person and as a performer goes way back. I couldn't be a more enthusiastic listener. And that's how he talked. Duke would use that enthusiastic. He was so sophisticated. Another giant, and we'll go into Duke at another time, but another giant. And to see these 2 guys performing for the first time, Lewis was in his 60s, Duke was a little older. So it's amazing, right? Here's some great shots of the session. So pick this up. Now we have the second edition of these sessions. It's the Great Reunion, Louis Armstrong, Duke Ellington. I actually like the songs on this better, but they both sound tremendous. And this is a reissue on EMIS. But here you have It Don't Mean a Thing, Solitude, Don't Get Around Much Anymore, I'm Beginning to See the Light, Side B, Squeeze Me, I Got It Bad, and That Ain't Good, and Azalea. Just an amazing record now. This is still in its original shrink. It's a cutout, one of my prized possessions, and that's the label. But I have the original, which has a little bit of an edge in sound, but not much. They're indistinguishable. And that's this record, another cutout on roulette. Now, I played this record for audiophiles in many situations. The first thing they go do is buy this record on eBay. So, if you can, The Great Reunion, Lewis and Duke, get both editions, the first and this one, and that's on Roulette, the old Roulette label. But like I said, if you can find an Emis or Emis, they both sound tremendous. And here's just the photos of the two giants right there. And then we have Satchmo plays King Oliver. This is an original audiophile quality on Audio Fidelity stereo discs. This has an unbelievable performance of St. James Infirmary, I Ain't Got No Body, Frankie and Johnny, Jelly Roll Blues, Chime Blues. This has Peanuts Huko on clarinet, Trummy Young again on trombone, Billy Kyle again pianist, Mort Herbert on bass, and Daniel Barcelona on drums. So one of his original all-stars. But this is just an amazing record. I'm really happy to have this. This has been reissued a few times. Here's the original inner, which I kept. You can see that. Audio Fidelity. Hear the difference. High Fidelity. And here's the label. But this sounds tremendous. Content is an 11. Sound is a 12. Depending on your system. And it's my opinion, so you may not agree with me. It's just my opinion on these. Here's another one, which just is a great record, and it's a duet with one of his biggest enthusiastic fans, with Bing Crosby, and they played in the Philadelphia story, High Society. They were together in that. Lewis was in that movie with him and Sinatra. And there you have. It's a great sounding record. This is an original on MGM. Here's the original inner. And this was, I would say, late 50s, 60. But this has great stuff on it. They, Bing adored him. The mutual respect that they all had for each other, and the respect they had for Louis Armstrong is just it goes without saying. And here's the label for that. And then we're going to come to one of my most treasured albums. I got this from a friend of mine. Actually gave it to me as a gift, which was really cool. A Deutsche Grammophon German recording of Porgy and Bess. And this again is I think they recorded these three records, or these three sessions, was the one I showed on Verb with Ella and Lewis, and then they did Porgy and Bess, the entire opera. This is on Deutsche Grammophon German, a really great pressing. I'll show you the inner. This again was produced by Norman Gretz on Verve originally. Has a nice bunch of notes on the record. But just sound quality, the records that I've just shown you, go out and find them if you want to hear Louis Armstrong when he's in the room. And these aren't redone except for the first time together, Lewis and Duke. All the other ones are OGs. They all sound great. If you can find an OG in near mint or excellent condition, buy it. If not, look for a high quality analog remix, or not remix, remastered record. Right there on Verve. And you can see the German label there. These sound great. Deutsche Grammophon, just one of my treasured recordings. I don't get to listen to them as much as I would, but when I do, late at night with the lights down low, you get into some really nice sessions with Lewis. Here we have Bing. Here we have him playing Fats Waller. Him with Ella. It's just, him and Ella are just priceless. The two on paper, those two voices would not come together, but on record and on vinyl, it's just a miracle. They both loved each other. Ella was a treasure as well. That's another one of my favorites. So that's basically it. I want to thank everyone for watching this little segment and all the subscriptions. If you haven't subbed, please subscribe. It really helps us out. Please like and comment. Do you have any of these records? Do you really dig Lewis? And that's it. Just my little tribute to Satch, who's either 124 years old this month, basically, or 124 years old, or 125 years old, whatever I said. But just really cool stuff. So thanks a lot. Keep rocking. See you guys later.